I love the Blues fans on social media. You crack me up left, right, centre. And this is an overarching, conclusive statement from the game. Really made me laugh. It said, a hideous Oliver Burke 1-0 win on an absolute cabbage patch of a pitch. Job done, get in, get out.
Yeah.
Just, the fact they put Oliver Burke in it. Like, So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And last night, Birmingham City went back to top of the table by beating Crawley Town 1-0. Now, in terms of the football match, it really was a pretty poor game of football, especially in that first half. But this is what good teams do. This is what teams that win leagues do. They manage and find ways to win. And Anderson and Stano popping up with that little bit of link-up playing magic to get us over the line and have that 1-0 win. So, Dad, what were your thoughts on the game?
Exactly what you said, mate. It was the first half was pretty poor, we got the win. You said just a few seconds ago, and a lot of Blues fans have been saying on social media as well. This is the type of performance that wins you promotion, wins you titles, because they're the scrappy games. And fair play to Crawley as well. I felt they really pressed well and tried to suffocate and stop us. But in the end, it was just a moment of quality that won the game, really, wasn't it? Our usual supply line. Keshi Anderson for Stansfield. But 3 points, top of the league at Christmas. Might not be the performance that we would sort of, be really, really happy with, but it doesn't matter, does it? It's 3 points.
We're top of the league, Dad, 3 points. Get in, get out. When you saw that pitch last night, when you saw what we were up against, Crawley, I did say in the pre-match video, Dad, and I'm glad I said it because I wanted to get it across. They press well, don't they?
They do press well.
They do press well, and they don't pay much respect to the bigger teams. So fair play to Crawley. I mean, I don't think they caused as many problems. Like, I weren't sitting there last night thinking, oh, we're under threat or we're in danger, but they disrupted. Yeah. And they frustrated.
That's what their manager said.
And they frustrated our flow. And that was frustrating because we couldn't get a foothold in the game from early. We were really sloppy. We were making mistakes. I mean, you could tell that pitch was holding quite a bit of water, had a bit of a bobble. I mean, one fan on X, Dad, compared it to a cabbage patch. It really tickled me.
It was bobbly. I mean, I must admit, I was watching the first half, and the ball wasn't smooth. So it was almost, when you sort of could pass it along flat, it was bobbling. I thought there's going to be a mistake with this but teams at this, of the size of Crawley, they have to take advantage of everything they possibly can to try and sort of win games, and the pitch is a big one that they can actually use to potentially give them an advantage. Just before we go any further, I just want to say something really, which we should have said at the beginning. The medical emergency, the reason the game was delayed, which I only subsequently found out, was a medical emergency. I believe it was a Birmingham City supporter as well.
I believe it was,
So whoever that was, I believe from what I've heard that this person is now, recovering, and which is really great news. But we just want to say to the firstly the Birmingham City supporter, speedy recovery, get well soon, and it's really nice to hear that you are on the mend, and also to the Crawley medical staff as well, who I believe were really fantastic as well. So we have to, as Chris Davies says, and Rob Elliott, the Crawley manager, have to put these things into perspective, because ultimately that trumps everything, doesn't it, Hal? So I just wanted to get that in, actually, because I thought that's pretty important.
Well said, Dad. Yeah, no, completely agree. And we see this popping up a few times. Like, we saw it at Rotherham away last season, didn't we, where games get stopped, and we've seen it a few times in other games, that the medical emergencies, and that takes precedent over everything, doesn't it? It's Christmas time, family above everything, and health above everything. So I hope that person's recovering well. And
absolutely. But back to the game, obviously the starting lineup was same as started against Bristol Rovers. The only difference was on the bench. Emil Hansen was back on the bench, which was nice to see. Lyndon Dykes was back as well. I always like to see him on the bench, because it gives us that other option, doesn't he? The two players to drop out were Yokoyama and Inyuki, but besides that, the team was identical to the Bristol Rovers starting line. So Chris Davies obviously wanted to field what he feels is his strongest starting line, because we did wonder, didn't we, Matt, about, I'm sure Blues fans did, about whether there will be start of rotation. And Chris Davies in his post-match interview gave a hint that that's going to happen. It's going to have to happen with the amount of games we've got, but that was a strong starting lineup.
Yeah, it was, and I'm glad I saw Lyndon Dykes on the bench, Dad, because after about 20 minutes in, I thought this is the perfect game for him. We weren't forced into going long, but I think with the style of the pitch and the way they pressed us, we definitely went more direct and longer than we would usually go as Birmingham City this season. And I was looking, I was going, this game is crying out for Lyndon Dykes. This was about 20, and I also thought Mark Leonard, the game was crying out for him.
Yeah.
Again, it was about 20, 30 minutes. I thought this game needs a bit of creativity. I thought Williamson in the first half did have a excuse me, a particularly poor game.
I noted that as well.
Yeah, just very
yeah.
ineffective, a bit invisible, didn't really have much impact, couldn't get a foothold in the game. And also, I thought as well, Taylor Garden-Hickman could have done a job at right back. I thought Bielek had a pretty poor first half. Just making observations here, what I thought of the first half. But overall, I thought the first half was particularly poor. I thought the second half we came out, and we could go into the chances in the first half in a little minute, but we came out
long.
we came out with a little bit more intent and a little bit more speed, and we were shifting the ball a little bit quicker. That was nice to see. But again, Crawley pressed as well, and they had little spells in the game. So I just want to reiterate, Dad, we mentioned against one of the teams we played recently about the teams that had failed to beat them. And when you look at Crawley, right, so at Crawley Town here, Blackpool have failed to beat them, Huddersfield have failed to beat them, Lincoln have failed to beat them, and Stockport have failed to beat them at Crawley Town this season.
And they narrowly lost away at Wrexham, and we know how good Wrexham's home record is as well.
Crawley are no pushovers. And actually, Dad, I don't know about you here, they really surprised me.
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong, not an outstanding footballing team, but they did just enough to really disrupt the Blues game, didn't they?
Yeah, and we've said this about teams before, Matt, about how they upped their game against us. But if Crawley Town play like that for the rest of the season, they won't get relegated.
There's worse teams than them.
There are a lot worse teams than them. But you don't know, because we've looked at other teams. They've been really good against us, and then they've gone on a really, really lot. Charlton beat us, and they didn't win for about 9 games. It's mad. It's a mad league, isn't it? But fair play to them. They were, did what they needed to do, disruptive, but in the end, it was quality that won the game. Like you said, Matt, the first half was particularly poor. It was, and it was really frustrating to watch, because in that, as a Blues fan, you're sitting there watching that, and you're thinking, we're better than that,
Yeah.
But Ben, you mentioned all the conditions, and we can't discount this as well. Firstly, it's at 8 o'clock or delayed 8 o'clock kickoff on a Monday night in Crawley. So I think we were stitched up by the EFL, the fixtures, and Sky, whoever put it there. But it was what it was.
Same for both teams, and the pitches.
It was what it was. But that's what it is. But the pitch was the thing that sort of stood out to me. And this isn't no excuse. I'm really, honestly not making excuses. But it was. You could see the ball bobbling, and and I think some of the players like Williamson. I thought Awata had a ropey first 20 minutes as well. They kept giving the ball away. Bielek, and I think it was them just adjusting to those types of conditions. And we know when we come down to League One, we're going to play in pitches like this. And I think it took them a little while to adapt, let's say. And that's why the first half, I think, was really, really poor.
Yeah.
And the fact that Crawley were well up for it, and we're obviously completely trying to suffocate us.
I mean, the first half was a pretty tough watch, wasn't it? Actually,
I would arguably say that's probably the worst half of football I think we've played. We have had some rugby halves.
Shrewsbury away was pretty bad as well in one of the halves there.
Well, that seem worse, Matt, because we conceded goals in that. This, in terms of performance-wise, I think this is probably one of the worst performances in the first half that I've seen.
We just didn't get a foothold, did we?
No,
we couldn't grasp the game. Paik and Awata weren't as effective as they were getting the control. What really disappointed me as well in the first half here, it changed a little bit in the second half. We've been hammering teams on the wings recently. Stano's been getting in. Anderson's been causing havoc. And we were rubbish out wide, and that was disappointing to see in the first half. I thought Buchanan, every time he got out wide, where Cochrane would have swung it in or gone down, Buchanan looked backwards. I noticed that. So we were going backwards a little bit more than our left-hand side instead of being a bit more direct. Again, small observations here, which just added to the compounds of a poor first half.
Well, Gareth Ainsworth summed it up at half time. And if you listen to the commentary, he was saying that he actually alluded to the fact that we were playing short passes, and he says Crawley will be happy with that, because they can close them down, they can suffocate them. And he said at half time he felt that Blues would probably go more direct, which we did actually in the second half. But there was Steve Evans there, and there was Gareth Ainsworth in the studio who commentated, and they're both experienced League One managers.
They are,
and they basically worked out and seen, well, effectively, if my team were playing them, that's what we would do as well. Mm-hmm. So what they're basically saying is that the short passes might look pretty and you might keep possession, but they're easier to defend against or close down. I thought it was a poor first half.
Just quickly down on the first half. So there was 3 moments where I've noted down. Okay, so 16 minutes in, Stansfield kind of had that. Not even a half chance, just went through and the defender ended up cutting it out a little bit quickly. We had a corner on 25 minutes where Paik shot through the crowd again, a bit of a nothing half chance. And then we had a really good one on 31 minutes where Stansfield hit it into the ground. And
it done well here.
I felt like it was a bit of a camera save, but it was still a good chance.
I thought Stansfield did particularly well because we know how good player he is, but he had a lot of players around him. And he had time to actually take the ball down. And he shot. He didn't make it clean because he hit it into the ground, didn't he? It bounced up. It was a camera save. It was a camera save. it was still a proper chance. Now that was only our real first chance. So at the end of the first half, or towards the end of the first, Clara got a booking now, which means he'll be missing from the.
It's going to happen, won't it?
But
that was quite a good battle. That was in the first half. They were fighting each other quite well, weren't they? That was quite an interesting battle.
Yeah,
there.
but he couldn't complain with that yellow card. I mean, he basically just chucked him to the ground, didn't he? But that I thought anyway, because of the rotation that's needed, I don't think it's going to hurt for Clara to have a rest anyway. No. So he's just give himself a rest, doesn't he? He's probably thinking, "Great, I got Boxing Day on." But you know, because he's done well for us, Clara. So that booking happened, and then. You know, I just felt that summing up the first half is that we allowed Crawley to not bully us, but we just allowed them just to suffocate us and to stop us doing what we wanted to do. So fair play to them. It was a very, very poor half, and the word I've put down, because obviously I made notes on this, is frustrating for me as a Blues fan. That was frustrating.
I've put sloppy. And again, I think they both tie into each other nicely, don't they, Dad? I thought that first half was actually a pretty tough watch. It was just a rubbish game of football. I mean, there's two things for me. Credit to Crawley. They pressed us well, they disrupted. And the pitch, I think it took us a while to adapt to that. And two big factors for me. Couldn't get a foothold in the game in the first half. But thankfully, our fortune swung round in the second. And I felt like we came out with a bit more tempo.
I think so.
A bit more intent, a bit more direct.
Do you reckon they got a rocket at half time? Do you reckon Chris Davis had
He would have been fuming.
Yeah.
I was fuming. I think most Blues fans were fuming.
Yeah.
I think, he would have gave him a rollicking, I think.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I know. They needed it. You know, I think that the efforts that the Blues, because that's what we have to do at this level. We know that we've got players of quality, top quality in this level, but that's not enough. You've got to match the battle. You've got to match the fight, and you've got to match that at least in the opposition, so then your quality can shine through. And I think that the first half, we did just about what we needed to do to keep it where it was. But I think, second half we came out fine. I mean, 48 minutes, the Water had a shot just outside the box. It just went past the right-hand post.
Even before that, Dad, we got the ball in the box and Williamson went down. It wasn't a penalty.
Oh, yeah.
But at least it showed we were being a bit
It wasn't a penalty.
No way near. I mean, even Williamson kind of held his ankle and then got straight up and ran off. So, no penalty. But the point is, even before that, our Water chance, we were getting balls in the box again.
Yeah, it was a much better. We were starting to look a bit more like ourselves in the second half, which we needed to. I always felt as well that, and we've seen this in other matches as well, because of our fitness, as we get through the second half and because we have so much possession, we start to wear teams down and they start to get tired. I definitely saw that in Crawley, particularly for the last 20 minutes. We started to impose our fitness. The better players started to shine a bit more, and I think that's what won us the game ultimately in the end. Because
squad depth and fitness.
Yeah, well, fitness. I mean, the way Chris Davis trains them, obviously, it's all high intensity training, isn't it? And the fitness levels are as high as anything. So all that hard work. And if you've got teams as well that haven't got the ball and running around, they're just chasing the ball, so they're going to get absolutely shattered.
I haven't made a note of his name, so I do apologise. But Crawley had a player come off. It was around the same time when Mark Leonard and Lyndon Dykes came on. I can't remember his name. Why did they take him off? He was one of their best players. I don't know whether he was looking at the schedule, thinking I need to take him off to preserve energy for our next games, or whatever was in the manager's mind. But I can't remember his name. But I was really surprised when he came off for Crawley.
It's hard to tell, isn't it? Because people might look who don't know much about Blues and think, well, why did Buchanan get substituted? We know as Blues fans that it's because he's coming back off a long injury. So there could be stuff like that. I mean, they had one player that was back for them. I can't remember his name. He was their captain. He played his first game for months against us. So I suppose just like Blues, Crawley and every other team are just managing their team, aren't they? And they know their players. Actually, on that as well, on the 63rd minute, Laird came on for Buchanan. Which again, Buchanan wasn't injured. He did all right while he was on, particularly in the second half. Buchanan was a bit more direct.
Yeah, he carried it. I think Davies told him to carry the ball a bit more because in the first half, I noticed every time Buchanan got it, he was. I don't know whether maybe he's lacking a bit of confidence coming back from his injury. Maybe it was instructional. I have no idea, but he was looking backwards, not forwards.
I think they're building him up.
Maybe, yeah. Whereas, as I say, I've noticed with Cochrane, he will go a little bit further forward and get the ball in the box, whereas Buchanan was a little bit more defensive.
Laird did all right when he came on, I thought. He lost the ball a couple of times, but then that's just Laird. But he had a few, going forward, it makes you wonder, when we're talking about, you talk about Longello, he's better. He'd be better going forward. He's not really a defender. I feel that about Laird as well. I think that, but maybe just use him on the left
As
wing
a winger.
As a winger, you know, and I know obviously people say, well, where do you fit him in? But I just feel he's much better as a. Although yesterday he did crack. I mean, the one chance that went across the box, I don't know how on earth.
Lyndon Dykes missed that.
Yeah,
Throw yourself at it.
It just was, and that was because. Did you see the way this Laird just cut in as well and kept going? That's what he needs to do more of, Laird, to me. But he did okay when he came on. We had more substitutions as well. 72nd minute, Lyndon Dykes and Mark Leonard came on for Alfie May and Williamson.
Yeah. In my opinion, Dad, I think Chris Davies should have made those subs a little bit earlier. I think it was crying out for Mark Leonard and Lyndon Dykes. I mean, fair enough. I know Lyndon Dykes missed that chance. I know he has his critics.
Yeah.
I know people get frustrated with him. But when you are having a game where you're going more direct and you're doing a few more long balls, you need someone like Lyndon Dykes. You need someone like Yuki on the pitch because that's the style. It was like Barnsley in the second half. We went more direct and Yuki came into his own, didn't he? And,
I think that's important as well because I agree with what you said because if with that game, now Williamson is a good player. We know on his day he's fantastic as well. But based upon that performance, I'd have subbed him at half time. I'd have brought Leonard on at half time.
I agree.
Based upon that performance, I'm not criticising Williamson because I love him and I think he's going to be a big player for us for the rest of the season and hopefully moving forward. But in that game, he just wasn't on it in the first half. I'd have made that substitution at half time. I do agree about Dykes as well, but I would have done what Chris Davies. I would have waited a bit longer to bring Dykes on because Alfie May, while he's on the pitch, he's always got the possibility of doing something, hasn't he? And then of course we had that moment of quality where Awata sprayed the ball out wide to Keshi Anderson, and it was a good cross.
Lovely cross.
But then you've got to give credit to Stansfield.
Positioning.
Because, he basically he must have anticipated that ball was coming in. And he was in between defenders, and it was a good header as well. But I think when you look at that, that's not as easy as it looks. I know everyone says he's just right in front of goal.
No, it's not.
But it's not easy because he had to glance that because the goalkeeper's there. Because it's so easy just to knock it into the arms of the goalkeeper.
It was beautifully glanced as well.
Just into the side. It was a really
just inside the post. Really good header.
And that shows you with Stansfield as well. You know the adaptability of the goals he can score. You know with his head.
But I think is that his fourth goal or third goal with his head? I know he scored against Wrexham with his head, Barnsley with his head, Crawley with his head.
Well, there's bound to be another one as well.
Yeah, well, it's basically he's becoming a really diverse player, isn't he?
Yeah, which is really good, and he's already turned out to be proper value for money.
Class, isn't it?
And now that Louis Barry's going back to Stockport, Stansfield's going to win the Golden Boot. For League One because if he keeps scoring like that, I mean he could get 30 plus goals this season. Because don't forget, he wasn't there. You know, so obviously he's got 11 goals in 13 or 14 games.
Yeah, he missed the first 6 games?
Yeah,
five games.
It was first 5 or 6 games. Yeah. So but keep on doing that because that's absolutely what we want, to score goals. And actually, that you could argue that if Stansfield's not on the pitch, we don't win that game. Because would we have scored a similar goal? I'm getting to that because who have we got that we can cross to that could score a goal? The only one is Lyndon Dykes potentially, or Yuki if he's available. But so that was the goal.
But there's something about confidence in there, though, isn't there? You mentioned on a previous podcast when Bailey Peacock-Farrell has the ball at his feet, you feel a little bit anxious. Yeah. But when the ball goes into the box and it's Lyndon Dykes, it's the Bailey Peacock-Farrell. I feel a little bit nervous when Stansfield is in the box or May's in the box. I've got that confidence they're going to put it away every time. Do you know what I mean? So there is that level of confidence with the players and the strikers we have. But
interestingly, when they talk about goalkeepers, some of the play across the back, it's still you're still looking at that because Crawley closed down very well, didn't they? And a couple of times we were playing balls. What I don't like is when the ball goes back to the goalkeeper and he's got a player just in front, a Blues player just in front of him, and he's got Crawley players here, and he's playing it to him. Don't pass to him, and then the ball out is like to him to the side, isn't it? Honestly, some of that is quite nerve-wracking to watch.
I'm getting used to it though because I'm saying to myself, if we break this press here, we're going to be in a really good position. As a Blues fan, I'm getting used to now this playing out from the back a little bit. I mean, under Rooney, I really was having a heart attack. At the start of Chris Davies' ball, I was having a heart attack. I think my blood pressure is slowly coming down as the season goes on. But there are moments that I'll back you up on that where I think, blimey heck, just get rid. But it does show. We broke the press a couple of times yesterday.
It makes a difference.
It does put you in it.
If you can do that well and break through, because they're pressing, they got gas behind them, but it really is jeopardy, isn't it? Because you have to get that right.
It's high risk, high reward, isn't it?
You get that wrong, and you're in a really bad. We gave the ball away a couple of times in those positions, but thankfully they didn't make anything of it. But overall we are getting better at doing that, and it's almost like now as the Blues fan, you think, well, that's what we do now. Whereas before, because of what happened last season, who fit as well. But I think that overall for that game, it wasn't the greatest game. It emphasise what we've been speaking about on other podcasts, that teams do this to us. They block and press, but we've got to find a way through. And ultimately, we've always said, Matt, whether we win 7-0 or 3-0 or a scrappy 1-0, which I would say that this game was a heart-fought. I wouldn't say it was exactly scrappy. There were patches of scrappiness on the cabbage patch, but it was a hard-fought win, and I think it shows a real resilience to the style of play that we've got now, that we can win in different ways.
Yes, agreed.
And that was a tough game. I say again, once again, fair play to Crawley, and they surprised me as well in terms of the way that they pressed us and the way that they tried to keep the ball as well.
Yeah.
Interesting stat as well before we finish, Matt, as well, that I didn't know this only by listening to the commentary on Sky. Apparently, Crawley have the second highest possession stats in the whole of the League One.
Wow. I didn't know that either.
No, can you believe that?
For people like me and you who do our research, you thought that would have flagged up on our radar, wouldn't you?
I wasn't aware of that. But the second highest. So obviously they're possession-based as well. Although overall in the game, we had 62% possession in that case. So that would be the lowest possession they would have had all season.
Yeah.
But the disappointment for me really was, and it's not a surprise really based upon what we've just spoken about, is that in the whole game, I'm just checking here, we had 4 shots on target. 4 shots. We had a lot of shots. Well, we had a lot of shots. We didn't have a lot of shots, but we had a lot more than Crawley. We had 12 total shots, but only 4 on target. And I think that's the disappointing bit. But then, if a team is trying to sort of play the low block or trying to pressurise you, they are going to limit the amount of shots on their goal. But I'd like to see a little bit more of that. But ultimately, I'm not going to complain because we got the 3 points. We're top of the league, and now we just need to press on. Now we've got 2 home games coming up. Over the Christmas period, Burton Albion and Blackpool, and if we can win both of those games, it just keeps the pressure on the seas below us, doesn't it?
Exactly. And I've got a quote off Xtad. I love the Blues fans on social media. You crack me up left, right, centre. And this is an overarching, conclusive statement from the game. Really made me laugh. It said, "A hideous Oliver Burke 1-0 win on an absolute cabbage patch of a pitch. Job done. Get in, get out."
Yeah.
Just, the fact they put Oliver Burke in it.
This one fixture, Crawley Town away, emphasises where we are as a club, and I looked at the fixtures at the start of the season, and this is the one game I wanted to get done.
Same.
Because it's with respect, it is Crawley Town, and as I say, we've been honest about, we really think that you played really, really well and they've done well, but we've got to beat these types of teams and then move on. And it's just a crack. The reality is we're in the league. We're playing Crawley Town, and that's no disrespect to Crawley. It really isn't. It's just a measure of where we are as a club and why we have to get promoted, because we need to be as a club moving forward and playing bigger teams in higher leagues, because that's where the club wants to go. So now this fixture's done, I'm really happy this fixture's done, because I know there's other games that a lot of other games we've still got to play. Yeah. But it was a real banana skin, this was.
Also, these
avoided.
100%. And these are the kind of games which Blues would usually mess up, isn't it? And even this season, Dad, Shrewsbury lost, Northampton draw. We've had a couple of games against the lower end teams where we've messed up. So
we nearly messed this up because we gave them a few chances at the end. Well, only half chances. But the one ball in particular that came, I think it was in the 93rd minute. It was from a throw-in actually. And they crossed it in, and it went over to the far side. And it was Hepburn Murphy, wasn't it? Is that his name?
I think so.
Russian Hepburn Murphy. He used to play for Villa, didn't he?
Yeah.
Or somebody anyway hoofed it over the bar, and there was another chance as well. So. What we're getting at, what we've just, and I'll finish on this point, is this is why, if you're only winning games by a single goal, it only takes a worldie or a moment of madness for a team to equalise.
Yep.
And this, I just thought, blow the whistle. But there's about 3 minutes to go, but they'll blow the whistle anyway. But we shouldn't be hanging on like that, because Chris Davis in his post-match interview felt that we were comfortable after we scored, which is true, we were, but we still always had the possibility that they could break and get a chance.
I would say that we looked comfortable throughout the entire game. Really, they had moments and patches in games where they caused us a little bit of bother, but it was half chances, nothing too major. I thought we did control the game, to be honest. But what they did do well was frustrate us and press us and disrupt the Blues game. They didn't let us get into our usual rhythm, did they? And fair play to Crawley for that, because that takes courage, I think. When you're playing a team who are dubbed to do very well and you don't pay them any respect and you press them, fair play. I think that's a real sign that Crawley are going to do well this season. And
So that's 7 wins on the bounce, 5 in the league. We're back.
how many clean sheets is that?
A lot more than we've had.
Yeah,
I mean, since Chris Davis has brought Ben Davis in and put Bielek at right back, we've really see. This is a thing, you see, Matt, and this is really important as well, because we have more got aside. We can win games 1-0 now. We couldn't have done that at the start of the season because we were just conceding goals, weren't we?
Yeah.
But so you can edge games 1-0. Because imagine if it's go back to like August or September when we were conceding goals. If Crawley had scored, we'd have been scraping to get a draw there because we haven't kept a clean sheet. But when you've got a clean sheet, you've got something to hang on to. Now, that's going to change, and we'll talk about this in the Burton preview video. There's going to have to be changes because Clara's suspended now. So what I think that he'll probably end up doing, I suspect he'll probably maybe bring Bielek back at centre-half and possibly put Laird or Taylor Garden-Hickman at right back. But we'll talk about that in that video. But there's going to have to be changes, basically, for the next game. Yeah. But we have been more solid at the back. And I think that's why we are seeing win. Is because we are not conceding as many goals now.
Agreed. Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it, to have that confidence at the back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's such a nice feeling.
Yeah.
But as always, Birmingham City supporters, we'd love to hear from you. Do you agree with some of our thoughts on the game? Do you have some thoughts of yourselves? Please let us know in the comment section below. Myself and Dad will get round to that as soon as we can. And Crawley Town fans, maybe you saw the pre-video, maybe you've stumbled across this for the first time. Please let us know your thoughts as well. We respect and appreciate all comments on this channel. And if you like the video specifically, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and we're also on Spotify now as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and press that bell notification so you get notified every time we post a video. And of course, this video is going out on Christmas Eve, so we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a lovely festive season. You want to jump in and say Merry Christmas as well, Dad?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. And we'll see you on the next video, which will be Christmas Day. So we'll see you and continue to see you over the Christmas period.
Yeah, but until next time, we'll see you on the next video all about Birmingham City.